Welcome everyone to today's class. So what I'm going to be focusing on is agile management. So let me just tell you a bit about myself. My name is Florence Ononuga. I'm a business transformation consultant. I help organizations, to I help them to, let me put it in a synoptic form. I help them with operational excellence, right? So I help them to transform their business. So that's what I do. And currently I work with RBC. I'm currently a senior project manager / Scrum Master. That's what I do within RBC. And I also train with Project Management Institute for project management certifications, and I help small businesses. So I'll put that in a nutshell. That's about me. So I'll be teaching you agile management. But what I mean by agile management, we include a lot of things. So it's going to focus a lot with understanding technology a bit, the roles within technology, initiatives within technology, and how you can use Scrum, to manage technology projects. So that's what I'll be focusing on. Okay, so we'll go straight into it. I'm going to be sharing my screen and we'll start the class. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So before I move on, I know I have a lot of different people in the class. I'll get to know you all as we go on. I have people that want to be like Scrum Masters within this group, and I have people that are just here to listen, to understand the framework in terms of how agile, how you can manage projects using agile methodologies. So I will be calling a lot on the Scrum Masters, in terms of, because they need to understand how to actually operate as a Scrum Master, the things they need to know and all that. And for everyone else that is just here, but you have your different roles, like a business analyst, a consultant, you need to understand working in an agile environment. You need to know how to manage a project using the agile methodology, because your project will also be, you'll be managing your project using agile methodology. So you need to understand that, right? Why the Scrum Master will be the ones to facilitate, to ensure that things are in place, putting the right things in place. So as we go along, I know you have questions and all that. We'll try and manage that. So before we actually go in, I'm going to start with the rules, okay? So the first thing we want to talk about here is, if you're not speaking, mute your mic, because the sessions are recorded so that people can listen to it again, right? So you don't want a situation where people will be listening to your conversations while they are trying to watch the video all over again. So when you're not speaking, mute your mic, okay? I will also encourage you to join the meeting with your name so that people get to know you and we know you're part of this class. So if you can join meeting with your name, it will be very good. And it's also very professional, because at work as well, you're going to be joining with your name. So that would be a good practice to imbibe. Sometimes some people, maybe they can't hear properly. If you know that your environment is noisy, or you're having issues with the network, maybe you can use headsets, right? So it helps to hear better. And for question, you can raise your hands. I'm going to say that easily, and I can call you. Let me get the participant list out, so that when I see your hand raised, I can call you to answer questions. If I don't call you, maybe I'm trying to finish my line of thought before calling you. Alternatively, you can use the chat button, right, to type in your question, and I will answer that as we go along the way. So that's how that is going to work. Do anyone have any questions regarding the rules before we go on? Okay, great. So the next thing we're gonna start with, okay, I can see, 1 second. Oh, my name. So I said that at the beginning. My name is Florence Ononuga. Okay, that's my name. So my name is Florence Ononuga. I said that at the beginning, and don't worry, you'll still get to know me very well if you're gonna stay for the training. Okay, so we're gonna start now, and I'm gonna be asking some questions, and I want to try to understand the audience. I want to know, what you know, right? So we're gonna ask the following question. What is your knowledge of Agile management? What do you understand by Agile management? So I want to know the average in terms of the people in class. Is it within 10%? Is it within 20%, 50%, 100%, or you're comfortable with it? I want to also understand your knowledge of technology. And I want to also understand what zone you are currently in. So what I mean by zone is, are you in your comfort zone? Are you comfortable? Do you feel safe? Are you in your fear zone? Right? So if you look at the screen, you will see the different zones. We have the comfort zone, the fear zone, the learning zone, and the growth zone. So you use the information within that zone to determine what zone you are currently in. If you're in your comfort zone, that means you're stable, you're secure, or maybe you are just bored with what you are currently doing, right? So that's being in your comfort zone. If you're in your fear zone, it's just talk about right now, maybe you lack confidence, or you're affected by other people's opinion, or you just feel that, oh, I don't think I can do this, or you need to do something new, right? Your learning zone will be more of acquiring skill. I know a lot of people might be in this zone, but I don't want to assume. And if you're in your growth zone, that means you find your purpose, you're living your dreams, you're setting new goals every time. So I'm gonna send a Slido. I'm gonna share the Slido link in the chat. Okay. So you click on the link, and when you click on the link, you can vote. You can decide to say what status are you at the moment. Okay. So the first question there says knowledge of Agile management. So I can see people voting. I'll give us time, then I'll present the results. So the first question is talking about knowledge of Agile management. So what I mean by knowledge of Agile management is, do you understand what Agile is? Do you understand the principles of Agile? Are you comfortable with what the Agile methodologies? Do you understand the different kind of frameworks that can be used to practice Agile? We have the Scrum, we have the Kanban. Are you comfortable with them? Do you know them? So that's what I'm asking, okay? So I want to know, so that I can understand the level of, of your knowledge of the people in class. So that's what I'm asking, okay? So I can see about 29 people voted. I'm waiting for more people to vote. I'm gonna send, more people are voting, so I'll give us about 1 more minute for everyone to send that in. Okay, so let's go check the results of that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, okay. So based on people that answered. So everyone is about, the class is divided into, okay, let's say about 39% of people have an understanding of Agile, but we have most of the people in less than 50%, right? So sometimes it might be that, you know, sometimes if I try to go nitty-gritties, you try to bear with me because we have a lot of people that are below 50%, okay? So we try and go a bit into the nitty-gritties, okay? So that we can help everyone and we can all be on the same page. And don't worry, if you already have an understanding, you can always learn something new, okay? So just follow with the class and keep learning. Or if you also have something you want to share with the class, you can share with the class, okay? So this is the status of the class right now in terms of Agile management. So we have more people in terms of the knowledge that are less than 50%, okay? So we'll also go as well to ask about knowledge of technology, okay? So I'm gonna put that in the chat again. I want everyone to answer. So I'll tell you what I mean by knowledge of technology. So what I mean by knowledge of technology is, do you understand what it means to work within technology? Do you understand the different roles that are available within technology? Do you understand the full stack development, right? What it means to be front end, back end, what it means to be working like a middleware developer. Like, do you understand all that? Do you understand what it means to have UX UI designers, right? So do you understand that full stack of technology? So I want to understand if you have an idea of what that means. Because why I'm asking this is that for most of the Scrum roles you're going to get, for most of the people that will be working within this Agile environment, you're going to be working within technology. You're going to be hearing a lot of languages. You're going to be hearing a lot of terms, new lingos, right? And new things you're going to be saying in your during your interview that people want to hear you say and say, okay, he's aware, he knows what he's saying. Okay, he understands our ways, right? You know, when you work within technology, they say there are some things you say, people know that you understand the ways of technology, you know what you're talking about, you have an idea, okay? So that's what I'm asking now. Do you understand technology? Do you know what the end-to-end, right, of technology? So I want to know what the knowledge is within this group, okay? So we have 29 people that have voted. I'll give 1 more minute for people to vote. Using the second link now. Okay, same thing as well. So we have a lot of people that are below 50%, right? So at least about 25% are at the 50% rate, and we have about 5% at the 100% you know, rate. So I will expect that those people will also support the class, you know, to share their knowledge with others as well, okay? But we'll try and take it, you know, a bit from the foundation so that we can accommodate the people that are less than 50%. But for those people that are in 100%, you can also support the class as well, okay? Great, because you need this, right? You need this, okay? So the last question. The last question is about, tell us what zone you are currently in. I shared the zone the other time. I'm going to share it again. I'll first share the link. So that's the link right now. I'm sharing the link to the third one. So you tell us what zone you are. I'm going to share the zones again so you can see the different zones that we have available. Okay, so we have the comfort zone. You're going to type this time around. We have the comfort zone. We have the fear zone. We have the learning zone and we have the growth zone. Okay. So the comfort zone is where you feel safe. You feel you're in control. You know, your job is stable, everything is fine, but you're bored of what you're doing, right? Even though it's stable, but you're bored of it. Fear zone is, you know, you don't have that confidence to move forward, right? You're affected by what other people's opinions are. And learning zone is you're just trying to acquire new skills, even though you are comfortable in your, you know, in your comfort zone, but you want to extend that, right? You want to learn more, right? Your growth zone is, you know, you already find your purpose. You know what you want to do. You are setting new goals, right? And you are using the knowledge you are acquiring. Okay. So I'll give us another 1 minute. I guess a lot of people cannot type into this stuff. Okay, we have about 30 people already. So let me share the screen. And some people are, you know, sending me privately as well. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. A lot of people are saying they're in the learning zone. That's why you can see the learning zone is very big. A lot of people are in the learning zone. We have few people in their comfort zone, and we have very few people in their fear zone. So a lot of people are in the learning zone, right? We have about 36 people that have already done that. You can see learning vote is 30. So we have a lot of people in learning zone. So which is good. It just shows that everyone is willing to learn, right? So if we are in our learning zone, it's a very good place to be. Okay, so good. So that will lead me to my next conversation. Okay, so if we say we've already from the polls, we understand that less than 50% understand agile and knowledge of technology, and a lot of people are in their learning zone. Okay, great. So that leads me to the next discussion. Is about our mindset, right? So we have two type of mindset, right? We have people that have fixed mindset and we have people that have the growth mindset, right? So why I'm bringing this up is that you're going to be seeing different things. You're going to be learning new things, right? Some of the things you know before, you're going to be relearning, right? But what I want you to have is I want you to have a growth mindset, right? I want you to understand that you can do anything. Anything you set your mind to, you can achieve it, right? Because I don't want you to have that fixed mindset that you are good at certain things, right? And you don't want to change it, right? And you don't want to take feedback. You don't want to take criticism. You don't want to change. You just don't like the challenge, right? I want you to have that mindset that you're ready to grow. You're ready to change, right? I know that when it comes to growing, right, it has to do with a lot of personality, um, um, sometimes depending on the organization you are working with, it can be difficult to embrace change. But as a person, you need to have that growth mindset. It's going to help a lot, especially when you are being exposed to something new, something different, right? So this is going to help you a lot. So I want everyone to have that mindset that they are ready to learn. They're going to be learning new things. Sometimes something you're going to be like, oh, how is this going to be useful to me? Why am I even learning this, right? But I want you to have it at the back of your mindset because you have decided to learn about agile, you have decided to learn about technology, new things are going to be coming up, right? A lot of things I'm going to be talking about, some of them I might not even go deeper, right? So you have to now start making your research to say, okay, this is what Florence talked about. Okay, can I learn more about this? Can I go deeper into this, right? Because to be candid with you, where we're going right now, I know there's something that you need to know that being a jack of all trade is like a futuristic asset. It's something that is necessary. You can be specialist in your role, but right now, in most of the spaces, they want someone that is an all-rounder, someone that understands the value chain, someone that understands the end-to-end. Even though you are a specialist, but you have understanding of what happens, right, within your space. So you want to have that growth mindset of keep learning, okay? So which is very important. So I want everybody to have that mindset that, okay, I'm hearing this, even though I don't understand it, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to find out what is it. I'm ready to improve on it. I'm ready to learn more about it, okay? So the next thing I'm going to show us right now is our class mantra. So I'm going to be with you for the next 3 weeks, right? Within that next 3 weeks, it is a lot. It can be draining, right? We'll try as much as possible not to spend more than 2 hours in every class, right? It can be very draining because you're like, oh, I'm logging in again. Some people are already used to it. Some people, they still need that, they need that resilience, they need that strength to keep going, right? So I wanted this to be our class mantra. I'm going to play you the video right now. Is about 2-minute video. I just want you to listen to it. I want you to digest it. I just want you to keep remembering it anytime you're coming to this class to learn, every time you're coming in to listen, you know, to learn from everyone, right? I want you to have it at the back of your mind. So I'm going to be playing that recording. It's about 2 minutes. We are all going to listen to this in Washington. I feel that sometime when I listen to it, it helps you to keep going, because the truth is that it's not going to be easy. It's not easy for anyone, but you can achieve it only if you are very consistent with what you're doing, okay?
Thank you very much.
Can you all hear the sound?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Eugene O'Neill, Edward Albee, August Wilson. August Wilson is one of the greatest playwrights in the history of American or world theater. It is a privilege, an honor, a responsibility, a duty, and a joy to bring his brilliance to the screen. I am particularly proud and happy about the young filmmakers, actors, singers, writers, producers that are coming up behind my generation. In particular, Barry Jenkins. Young people understand this young man made 10, 15, 20 short films before he got the opportunity to make Moonlight. So never give up. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, P. Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So Keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Okay, so Denzel has said, you need to keep learning, right? I'm playing that video for us to just have it at the back of my mind that it's not going to be easy. This is just the beginning, right? And from there, you just continue to build on it. It has happened in the past. I know people that have done this before. I know people that last year they've been trained on this. They've not even done anything in technology before, and now they are thriving, right? Because they were ready to build on what they were taught, and they're doing very well. So it's up to you, is up to what you want to do. Like if you're really determined that I really want to get this done, you will. Okay, so this is just like the beginning. This is the foundation, then you continue to build on it. Okay. So next thing is, this is life in general, right? We're going to plan. I'll show you what our plan is, right? We'll try and follow our plan, but you know that in reality, issues will happen, right? There'll be different issues. There'll be different bombs. There'll be problems. People will have one issue or the other. But the truth is that no matter what the issue is, we will just keep going. We will keep going till we get to our finish line. That's the plan, right? So, in life, we plan, everything looks as if it's easy, but in reality, it's not so easy, right? But we'll continue that way till we get to our finish line. No matter what the situation is, we'll keep going till we get to our finish line. Okay? So right now, this is what we're going to be learning, okay? So we're going to be talking about introduction to IT strategy and governance. So I'm going to introduce you to what IT strategy is, what IT governance is, right? I'm also going to introduce you to project management. Project management is a massive discipline on its own, right? Is a discipline that is massive on its own. But for you to understand and appreciate Agile, I need to introduce you to project management. We're going to talk about full stack development, right? So that when you start hearing those lingos, when you start hearing front end, back end, you understand what this is all about, right? When you want to understand how the front end connects to the back end. So what happens when the front end connects to the back end? I'm going to be showing you all that. I'm going to be also telling you about the different roles that are available within IT, right? For example, you hear things like there's an impediment. We need to meet with the solution architect. Who is the solution architect? Why are we talking about a solution architect, right? So you want to know the roles that are available. Like if you're working within a team and you need to meet with the architects, you need to meet with the security guys. Why are we meeting with all these people? So you need to understand how everyone connects to each other, right? So working within a Scrum team does not just mean that you're working within the Scrum team, right? Scrum team is just that it's just a group of people working together, but they still need to interact with other people within the organization. So I'm going to be explaining some of those roles to you and how they interrelate with each other. I'm also going to talk a bit about some of the roles within the Scrum team, like even though the Scrum team is a cross-functional team, right? Is a team that is self-managed. Is a team that they expect all the skills to be available, like the UX, UI, the design, the business analyst, the tester, right? The developer. They expect everyone to be within the Scrum team, right? So I'm going to be explaining a bit of those roles to you and what they do. After that, we'll talk about product management. A lot of people ask questions, what is the difference between product and project management? We're also going to be talking about that. What is product management? I'm going to show you how to actually, what products are, how to differentiate between a product and a project, how to prepare a product roadmap, right? So how to prepare a product roadmap and how you use those product roadmap to work on your on what you want to do, like creating your epics, your features, your user stories. I'm going to explain all that. Then we deep dive into Agile, telling you about Agile, and we'll now start talking about Scrum framework, using the Scrum framework to understand the Agile methodology. So Scrum is just one of the practice or one of the frameworks that is used to practice Agile. So we deep dive into that. Then we'll now do a simulation. A simulation is just going from end to end, showing you from the beginning what happens, right? How do you set up a Scrum team? What do you do in sprint 0? What are the things you need to put in place, right? Before you actually start your sprint 1, right? So putting your team norms together, ensuring that all those things are put in place before you actually start your project, you kick off your project. So I'm going to do that simulation. We'll take a little initiative and I will walk you through that and we'll do that together. Okay, so that's what this training is always going to be about. Okay, so any questions before we go on? No questions? We're good? Okay. So before we go ahead, I want us to start with our team norms, right? Because we're going to be here for 3 weeks. We need to understand that we have to have norms of how we want to work, right? And those team norms are what we're going to use throughout the 3 weeks, okay? And the team norm is going to be developed by everyone here, okay? Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. I hope you can see my screen. What I'm sharing is called a conference, right? A conference is just one of the collaboration tools that is used for documentations, right? You can use it to document things within your team. So when you guys start working on a project together, you're going to be using conference for your documentation, right? That is what most organizations use, especially when they are working within an agile environment to do their documentation. So now we're going to start with team norms. So this is what a conference looks like. It just have the normal home page. You are going to have, recent just talked about the fact that things that you did recently, you can click on it, to go back there. And spaces mean that you can create different spaces. For example, you can see that I have 3 here. I have the Flaxi app music, I have GFO, I have the Z generation music box. I can create another space. Maybe you have another project, so you create another space and add your team members to it. So that's what spaces are about. Spaces are, this is a squad. This is a new team, or this is a new initiative. Then you create a space for those initiatives. People just say the people you want to invite. You can set up a squad here. Like, oh, let's say we want to set up, maybe we divide the teams into a group of 10. You can set up that group of 10 here and say this is a team. If you go to some organization, they'll call it a squad. So set up a squad. So this is how you set up your squad in conference, okay? You go to the people section and set up your squad, okay? So right now, I'm just going to be creating. So what do I want to create? I want to create a page, right? So when you're creating a page, I will still show you that as we go ahead, as you do the simulation, you'll see all these things. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a page and I'm calling it team norms. Okay. So now I've created a page and I'm going to publish that page. So now that page has been published, right? So what I'm doing here is I want us to put the team norms together. How do we want to operate within the next 3 weeks? So now I'm going to click edit and we can start coming together with our team norms. So I will open the floor, for everyone to start discussing, not like discuss, come up. What do you think our team norms should be? Okay. So I'm waiting. What should be our team norms? So let me explain what team norms are. So team norms are the way you want to operate as a team, right? So because when we put the team norms together, everybody will agree and say, this is how we're going to operate in the next 3 weeks, okay? So that's what team norms are. They are like, okay, this is how we should operate. I'll give you an example. An example is we're going to be starting the class at 7 p.m. prompt. Meaning if you are not there, we won't wait for you, we'll start. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that would be our team norm. I can see one here. Someone said team norms, that we should respect each other's ideas. So I think that's a very good one. Respect each other's ideas. So I'm seeing one is saying that if you have raise your hand to speak, raise your hand to ask questions, raise your hands to ask questions. So I can see one here, people say open communication, open communication, open communications. I can also say that break. So we'll be taking 5-minute breaks. We'll take 5-minute break. What else? Don't interrupt others while they have the floor. Okay, respect people's opinion even if they are not making sense. Okay, I'll just put that as I think we talk about respect each other's ideas. So I think that will cover that. Respect each other's ideas and opinions. Okay. Session should be time boxed. Okay. Session should be time boxed, meaning 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I said a.m., sorry. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So session is time box. Communication, commitment to learning, keep to short time talk. Okay, I think we have time box. We have open communication. We have commitment. Commitment. Commitment to learning. Okay. Okay. Another thing was documents, resources. Document resources shared within the team. One was also take 5 minutes to summarize what we did the previous day. 5 minutes to summarize the previous day activities. Okay. They can share different rooms to discuss what's important during session and come back to general to share question and answer. Okay. Open to feedback. Okay, someone asked a question. So Florence, please, is this module 1 starting now? Yes. That is IT strategy and governance? Yes. And then is this Confluence a software or cloud team management tool sort of? Yes. So this is Confluence. Confluence is a tool. So while we're going on, I'm going to be showcasing different tools to you, right? So Confluence is a collaboration tool. It's for document management. Within the Scrum team, is used for artifact. It's used for documenting all the different artifacts, the different things that the team use so that everyone can have access to it. Okay, so one of the things we are starting with is to document our team norms. So team norms is things that the team needs to agree to. So now everyone is agreeing that we're going to respect each other's ideas and opinion. Raise your hand to ask questions. Open communication. We agree to 5-minute breaks. You know, quizzes after each module. I love that. Nice. Quizzes after each module. Okay, so yeah, so someone says strictly adherence to the team norms. Yes, we're going to be we are going to adhere to it because that's why we are putting it together, right? Is so as I'm teaching you, one thing I want you to understand that as a Scrum Master, if you start a team or you join a team and they don't have a team norm, these are some of the things you want to put together. Like they need to agree together to work, and there should be something binding them to work, right? They need to have a team norm. So if there is non-existing, you want to make sure you create that in place, right? There should be a team norm binding them together. So you want to put that in place. So that's one of the things you want to do, right? And you can use Confluence to do that. You can also use a tool called Mural to do that as well, okay? So now that we have our team norms, we're going to publish. So this is what is going to bind us together, right? We're going to be having 5-minute break. Emma, I'm sure you would direct that when it's time after we start, every about 30 minutes, just remind us that we need to go on break, okay? So we'll take that 5-minute break, yeah, and we'll start at 7 p.m. and we'll always finish at 9 p.m. Okay, we're committed to learning. Resources will be shared. We'll have quizzes after each module. Okay, great. So I think we're all good. Then we can now go back to continue our classes for today. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to open my tab. Good so far. Okay, so we'll start. We talked
we
about
have questions. Sorry, we raised our hands. That's what we usually do.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ramat, do you want to go?
Yes, I do. So the team norms that you talk about in Confluence, do we have like what's it called? Like standard that we can, instead of us forming it from our heads or from various stuff, do we have like templates that we can use in Confluence to just get to use for our team norms?
Yes. You have templates in Confluence. If you go to scrum.inc, you also have templates that you can use. Okay. I just like to collaboratively, I like to do it collaboratively because I believe that if the team are going to use this, it should come from them, right? But there are always templates you can use to start with. Okay, Ella.
Hi, Florence. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, after this training, or are you going to be teaching us something that after this we'll be able to write the Scrum Master certification, or is not necessary?
Are you, I'm trying to check, are you part of the Scrum Masters?
I'm a BA.
Yeah, a BA. Well, the truth is that you can write the Scrum Master certification if you want to write it, right? So there is if you finish this training, you can actually write your PSM 1. Okay. So we have different certification. We have CSM, we have PSM. So the two common one is PSM and CSM, right? For you to write the CSM certification, you have to go to Scrum Alliance. And for you to go to Scrum Alliance, you need to pay for a Scrum Alliance workshop, right? You have to go to the list and get a Scrum Alliance workshop, which you're going to attend like 2 days. And I think it's about 1,000. Is mostly about 1,000. Sometimes you get people that do discounts and all that, right? But it's still the same thing they are going to be teaching you. Not all this, they won't teach you all this. They'll just go straight into Scrum, right? And you after 2 days, you go right. They'll just give you something at the end of the training, to show that you understand, and they give you a certification called the CSM. But you can also do PSM. If you go to scrum.org, you will see the questions. You can practice questions there, and you can write the exam. PSM is about $150. So after this, you can write your PSM. Okay?
Okay, sorry, what's your PSM? Sorry to ask.
Professional Scrum Master.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah. But for business analysts, for consultants, mostly they just want to see you that you understand the Agile practices, you understand the Scrum framework, and you can work within an Agile environment, okay? But for Scrum Master, it's always better you have the certification just to, back you up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So we start. So IT strategy and governance. So what are we going to be learning in this module? So in this module, we're going to be talking about what is IT strategy? What is strategy, right? Understanding IT strategy, IT master plan, right? Demand management, sources of initiative, prioritization, IT governance. That's what we're going to be covering here, okay? So the first, under the learning outcome, what you're expected to understand here is to understand the major sources of IT initiative, understand other sources of IT initiative, and understand the big picture. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing here. Okay, let's start. So what is strategy, right? So a strategy is a set of action that managers take to increase their company's performance relative to their rivals. So when we say strategy, what are we actually talking about? So when you say strategy, you're just talking about the approach you want to win, right? How do you want to win? So most organizations, they have something we call strategy. They are always putting a strategy in place of how they want to win, right? So, and before you can put a strategy together, you want to know, like, how do we want to win, right? So where are we going to? What are we trying to achieve, right? What is our organization trying to do, right? So strategy is just like a set of plan. That is what it just means. Like, what's our strategy? What they are just saying that what is our plan, our set of plans to stay winning, to be better than our rival, right? So imagine some organizations, let's use banking, for example. We have RBC, we have CIBC, we have Scotiabank, we have TD, right? Every one of them have a strategy. The strategy they are coming up with, how do we stay above our rivals? How do we do better? How can we increase our own company's performance in relative to our rivals, right? So they put those strategy in place, right? So that is what strategy is all about, right? So I guess we understand what strategy is, right? Ella, you can put your hand down so that when I see someone raises their hands, I know that they have a question. Okay. So planning cycle. So we talk about strategy, right? Ella, do you have a question? Okay. So we talk about strategy, right? We said strategy is an action, a set of action, things we want to do, right? How we can stay ahead of our competitor, how we can stay ahead of our rivals, the actions we've put in place for us to stay ahead, right? Now, for every organization, you know, that strategy we talked about, that strategy we said we are putting together, they always put that strategy together for a period of time. They call it the planning cycle. So for most organizations, they will always have a planning cycle. Is it that they have a 3-year planning cycle, a 4-year planning cycle, or a 5-year planning cycle, right? There is always a cycle for that strategy that they are putting in place. Now, where do all this start from? It starts from the vision, mission, and values, right? So for every organization, there's something called a vision. There's something called a mission, and there's something called values, right? So now, one thing you want to note, the vision, the mission, and the values do not change, okay? The vision, the mission, and the values do not regularly change. What changes is their strategy, okay? The strategy changes, but the mission, vision, mission, values don't change, okay? So what is a vision, right? A vision is like you saying that, where are we going to? As an organization, what is our future going to look like, right? So a vision is not something you just say. There are things that the organization say, this is how we want to see ourselves. This is how we want to be, right? So imagine you saying success is a place, right? If you say success is a place, how would you know that you are there, right? So that place you're calling success is the vision of the organization, right? So there was a time I was listening to one video and they asked the guy that, who is your role model? The guy said that his role model is him 10 years time. So he can imagine what he wants to be in 10 years. So he's now looking at that and saying that is his role model. right? So a vision is somewhere like where you want to be, like you are creating a vision that we want to be here. This is how we want to be like, right? So every organization have what we call a vision. So they have that vision that this is how they want to be. This is what they want to be like, right? Now, so one thing you want to know is that when they have that vision, they set it and they now start working towards that vision. Now, every organization also have a mission. What is a mission? The mission is why do we exist, right? What do you do? What are you into as an organization? Who are your main customers, and what do you do for them? So that's your mission, right? So it's the core foundation of the organization. So remember I said the vision is how the organization wants to look. They are looking at it ahead, that this is how we want to see ourselves. This is who we are. This is how we want to, this is what we want to become, right? The mission is the purpose of the organization. Why do we exist? What is our capabilities, right? What should we be known for, right? So that is the mission of the organization. Now we now have the values. So you look at the values like things like the DNA of your organization, right? Some organization, for example, now, if you look at RBC, one of their values will say their diversity, something, and inclusion, right, is one of their core values. So every organization have those core values, right? Some people will say integrity is one of their core values, right? So you need to understand the values of your organization, because most of the times you want to know if some of those values, if you align with that value of the organization. So in every organization, there's a mission, there's a vision, there's a mission, and their values, and those things don't change, right? Now, after those things have been set, the vision, mission, and values, there's something we now call the strategy, right? The strategic plan, the corporate strategy, right? That is what changes. So every organization will set a corporate strategy. They'll say, we are setting this strategy for the next 5 years. We are setting this strategy for the next 4 years. We are setting this strategy for the next 3 years. And it's called the planning cycle, and it changes. Okay, so now every organization have that strategy, right? They always come up with those strategic plan, right? So when they come up with those strategic plan, what they are trying to do is that they want to know, like, okay, this is what our employee will be focusing on. This is what are the things we want to achieve, right? How can we achieve this performance? Now, that corporate strategy is set by the main, the board, right? It's set by the executive, because that's why we call it the executive corporate strategy. Now, when the executive corporate strategy is out, right, everybody will now start looking at the strategy and say, oh, how can we achieve the plans in this strategy? This is where the business units will come together. So I will use a small company and I will use a big company to explain. So the business units will now come together and say, oh, now the executive corporate strategy is out for the next 3 years. Let's use 3 years for an example. It's out for the next 3 years. The business units are the unit that, what I mean by business units, you now hear things like the HR, IT, logistics, finance. They are all the business units, right? They will now come up and say, how can we achieve this corporate strategy, right? The corporate strategy is the overall statement, right? That has said that this is the strategic direction of our organization. So how can we achieve that strategy? So HR will come up, oh, for us to be able to achieve this strategy, they will come up with their own strategy. So HR will lead their own strategy. For example, they might say things like, oh, we need to automate. I'm giving an example. Maybe one of the strategy will now be, we need to automate our recruiting system. Maybe they used to give it out to they used to outsource it. They might not say, oh, we don't want to outsource it anymore. Right now, we want to do it ourselves. And for us to do this, we need to automate our process, right? So that's one of their strategy that the HR have put in place. Finance will also have their strategy. Technology will also have their strategy. But there are things that we do in technology that differentiate us, right? What we do is that technology is also an enabler of all those other business units. You know, those HR that I mentioned, those finance, those logistics. Technology is also an enabler to them. So what will happen is that technology, IT, they will now go to the different business units, right? And say, HR, we have seen your strategy. How can we help you achieve this? HR will now say something like, oh, we want to automate our process. So technology will do a bit of research. They will also like collaborate with HR and say, okay, for you to automate this process, they will do a bit of research. They might say, okay, maybe we can use Workday, you know, to automate this, to help us as a tool, like a tool, like a software that can help us, you know, to put this automation in process, right? So they'll say, okay, can we, maybe we'll implement Workday, right? So now technology is offering solution in terms of their solutioning in such a way that they are trying to help HR, right, to achieve HR's technology. Because if technology helps HR to achieve the technology, HR will invariably achieve the corporate strategy, right? So the corporate strategy is in place. Everyone is now having their own strategy. That how can we achieve this corporate strategy? They'll put in their own strategy. Now technology will go round and say, how can we help them using technology to also help them achieve their goals, right? So you can see the way technology works. Technology on its own, we also have ways that they need to, they will also have their own strategy. Like maybe they want to have operational excellence, right? So they will put all those, their strategy in place, right? But they will still go around the businesses to help them in terms of understand what their strategy is and how they can help them, right? So when technology is going out around HR, they are going around finance, going to logistics. What they are doing is they call them business enabled. They are initiatives that are business enabled. They are business IT partnership. So we call them business IT partnership. In those scenarios, you see people that we call them IT strategists. We call them business analysts, strategic business analysts. They're the ones that do all those work, right? They go about getting all these details, documenting those cases. They call them initiative or business cases. Sometimes some organization will call them project proposals, right? They will document all those things, right? So for each of the business areas, and they will now put everything together, right? And say these are the business enabled initiatives, right? So that's how IT helps, right? To achieve those corporate strategies. So, but those corporate strategies have to come out, right, before you can ask the technology get into the other business area to put all these things together. If you're talking about large organizations, so you see technology partnering with people like wealth management, partnering with personal and commercial banking, because these areas are also massive on its own, right? These are big organizations. So it's not going to just be functional areas like HR, finance. You also see business areas like personal and commercial banking, wealth management, capital markets, and things like that. So they help to achieve those strategies by using technology. So in those scenarios, we call those initiative business enabled initiative. Okay, so that's what happens within the planning cycle. So the planning cycle will be like 3 years. So when they do that in the first year, every year they keep reviewing to ensure that they are staying in alignment with the strategy, because the IT strategy cannot operate on its own. It operates within that corporate strategy. Okay, so and that planning cycle can happen in different organizations. So when you get an organization, you want to understand, are they running a 3-year planning cycle? Are they running a 4-year planning cycle? Are they running a 5-year planning cycle? Okay. So IT master plan, you'll get an organization, you'll be hearing things like IT master plan. So what are they talking about? So what they're talking about is, what is our master plan? What are the things we want to do for that year, right? You have been hearing things like, does technology drive business or does the business drive technology? So what they are saying here is that, remember that the IT strategy, they are developed in response to those business strategies that have been put in place, right? And I told you that the IT, they've gone around the business to gather requirements, right? In such a way that they can help those business areas achieve the organization's strategic goal, right? So now those initiatives that they've come up with from those business areas, they are the business enabled initiative, those business requirements. They are partnering with the business, right, to put that together. So now IT master plan, right? For you to have the IT master plan, there are two things, right? So you have the business enabled initiative, which I just explained how that is gotten, right? It happens from the planning cycle, right? Now, those are the business enabled initiative. The other part is the technology roadmap, right? Now, this technology roadmap is something that has to do with technology. It has to do with infrastructure, right? It has to do with obsolescence. It has to do with things that will help the organization as a whole, right? Now, this technology roadmap and the business enabled initiative is what makes up the IT master plan. So when you hear things like IT master plan is just things that are saying that this is the plan IT have put in place for all the initiative they want to implement. You understand? So all the things that they've put in place that this is what we want to implement is called the IT master plan. But that IT master plan consists of the business enabled initiative and the technology roadmap, right? So I have explained the business enabled initiative. It starts from the strategy. The IT will go to the different business areas and understand what their strategy is and document it and come up with the business enabled initiative. Now, the technology roadmap itself, that is done by technology itself. You hear things like the architect, they will be coming together. They are looking at what would drive the technology roadmap. So these are some of the drivers of the technology roadmap. For example, one of the drivers of the technology roadmap is business requirements. So let's think about it. How does business requirements drives technology? We remember when we mentioned the HR example, we said the IT people will go to HR. They look at HR strategy and say, oh, you guys want to automate the recruiting process. Okay, maybe we can implement Workday, right? Or maybe they have an application already that they use. Maybe they use a custom application, but they are saying that instead of them using a custom application, we want to move to the cloud so that everyone can have access to it, right? Let's move to software as a service, right? So if they say things like that, but if the technology that is currently present in the organization is on-premise, so what do I mean by on-premise? It means that everything they use to manage IT is within their location. Do you understand? That means their data center, their infrastructure, their servers, everything is within their organization. Then we call it on-premise. But if it's not within their organization, like if it's outsourced to people like Amazon, to people like Google, right? To people like Microsoft. So Microsoft is Azure. Amazon, you hear things like Amazon Cloud, right? Amazon Web Services, right? AWS. You hear things like Azure. Azure is Microsoft. When you hear things like Google Cloud, that's Google. You hear things like OpenShift, Oracle, right? All these people, they have cloud services, right? So if there's a requirement from the business, or for example, let's use marketing. Marketing says, oh, most time we are always using Excel to document our leads. But instead of using Excel, we want to have a process in place, a system in place that can help us do that. Can we implement Salesforce? You already know that the marketing people are already giving a business requirement that is already a cloud-based solution. But for example, if technology does not have anything in the cloud, maybe they are not running hybrid, they are not running a cloud solution, you know that they need to upgrade their technology, right? Because for you to do that service, you need to have, for you to run that software as a service, you need to have a cloud option, right? Or you have an hybrid option, meaning you move some of your infrastructures to the cloud, right? So that is what they say business requirement is a driver, right? You've gone to the business areas and they need some solution that will require the cloud. That means you're saying business requirement is driving that solution. You understand what I'm saying, right? Another thing that can be a driver is the IT obsolescence plan. So what does that mean? Excuse me? So what does that mean? Look at, for example, right now, most organizations will be using something we call Windows 10. We cannot use Windows 7 anymore because Microsoft is telling us that Windows 7 is out is end of life, end of support. We can't use it anymore. So all of us needs to move to Windows 10. So in that scenario, we call it obsolescence, like it's obsolete. Windows 7 is now obsolete. Everyone is moving to Windows 10. That is another technology, right, that is driving. So that's what they mean, that drivers, they are driving it. They are making, because of that, initiatives are coming up. Do you understand? So when we know that we cannot use Windows 7 anymore, it's end of life, end of support, another initiative will spring up in the IT master plan. That means we need to migrate to Windows 10, or we need to upgrade to Windows 10. Do you see? That's a new initiative, right? So, but that initiative does not have anything to do with the business, but it is for operational excellence, right? So it's not like if HR cannot continue to use Windows 7, or finance cannot continue to use Windows 7, but it won't. The problem is that Microsoft, right? They are not going to support it anymore. And if Microsoft does not support it anymore, what happens? It means that we are exposed, like, to security risk. Do you get what that means? We are exposed, and no organization wants to be exposed, because if you are exposed, it means that there's an opportunity for someone to access your system. And what that means is that if someone can access your system, it means that you are exposed to liabilities, reputational damages, right? So if, for example, if someone says, oh, CIBC has been exposed, do you know what that means? A lot of the customers will move away and move to another bank, but they don't want that, because they want to stay winning. They want to keep winning above their competitors. So because of that, they will naturally make sure that they can avoid every security risk. They move from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So that's when we mean that obsolete plans. So these are some of the things, like technology evolution. These are some of the things that can, that can drive it, that can help, that can determine determine what we have in our technology roadmap, right? And remember, we said that our IT master plan will consist of business-enabled initiative and technology roadmap, right? So business-enabled initiative are the one we gather through the strategy, right? From each of the departments, each of the business area, each of the segments. The technology roadmap are things that has to do with technology, right? That are driving it, that we don't have a choice. Things like Windows 7, we have to upgrade to Windows 10, or we have to automate, or we have to move some of our system to the cloud. So that's technology roadmap. So I'll show you an example of a technology roadmap. This is what an example of a technology roadmap is. So for technology, we have different areas. We have application hosting, we have backup, we have data center, we have storage, we have email. This is our email that we use, Office 365, right? Those emails, those internet browsing. We talk about collaboration, right? Collaboration are things like SharePoint. You use things like Confluence. Those are collaboration tools, right? So all these are technology roadmap. So this is what it looks like. You can see that let's use email as an example. In 2017, they were using Microsoft Exchange, right? And it's already in yellow that we need to change it by 2018. We need to move to Office 365 Exchange, right? Because this Exchange is going to be end of life, end of support, right? So they need to move to Office 365 Exchange. So this is the roadmap, right? So they know that you can see that all those things in red, they will now start putting an initiative together, things we need to work on, because we know that we cannot continue to be on this platform anymore. We need to migrate to this new platform. So before you know it, a lot of initiative will come up, right? So by the time we get all those initiatives, they will now add it to what we call the IT master plan. So this is the IT master plan. It will now show you that these are all the projects we want to do. That's why you see that in some organizations, when they have all this, sometimes they cannot get it done on time. They will now have to like start recruiting people, getting contractors, getting contractors in place to ensure that they can implement that project, right? So now remember that this IT master plan will consist of those business-enabled initiative, right, and the technology roadmap. That's what makes up the IT master plan. So now that we have the IT master plan, this is our major source of IT initiative. This is where you get a lot of IT initiatives. So when you now see organizations sending jobs out, or they are sending that they need people to help them implement stuff. This is where the initiative come from. So most time when they have this initiative, there are timelines for them to be able to do this initiative, and they can't do it on their own. So they will need people. So they want extra people to come and help them manage it. They want people to come and project manage it. So you now start thinking that, okay, can we recruit? Can we get contractors to help us during this period, so period, for us to implement this project? Now, so those are the major sources of initiative. The IT master plan is the major sources of initiative. But there are still some other initiatives that can come up as well. You know, why they've put that IT master plan in place. You know, I said that they can be reviewing it every year, right? Now, other thing that can cause initiative, that can be a source of initiative, can be market conditions. Something is changing within the market, and they need to actually implement it on time so that they can always stay at the top, right? So those kind of things can also be a source of initiative. Another thing can be regulation. The government can say something. You know, today did you hear what the government was saying? Was it 2 weeks ago or last week, that there's going to be a change, that they want to do something that people within outside Canada cannot buy a house within a certain period, like for the next 2 years. That's a change in regulation. It's going to affect a lot of organizations in terms of, you know, some of the things they are going to be working on, some of the initiatives they are going to be working on. So some of those regulations can also affect the initiative. There are also sources of initiative. Pandemic is also another source of initiative, right? So these are some of the things that affect initiatives, right? So they can come from different ways. Then we have legal, we have regulations, we have audits. So what do I mean by audits? Organization will come, auditors will come, they will look at some of the work you do, and they'll tell you to do something, or do this remediation, or work on this. Before you know it, there's another initiative that is coming up, right? So that is how the different initiatives come about, and that's where people want to implement projects. So you hear things like, oh, we have this initiative. So as an organization, they will now start deciding if they want to manage that initiative using a waterfall approach or using an agile approach. Okay. So demand management. So what is demand management? So demand management is it helps you to understand and anticipate how users use your services, right? You know, we've talked about that IT master plan, right? So it's telling you that this is how they manage organization in terms of how when they demand for technology, this is how we manage them. This is what we do, right? So remember at the beginning, we've talked about this IT master plan. We've talked about how business engagement happens, right? When the strategy has been put in place, the business analysts, we call them, in this scenario, if you're a business analyst, you're going to be like a strategic business analyst, right? You're going to go within the business areas and get all this information and put them together. So when the business analyst, the strategic business analyst, go to the different business area and get all the information and put them together, what happens is that all this initiative comes together. But you know, remember something, you cannot implement everything at once. Those initiatives need to be prioritized, right? So it will be prioritized by the architecture review board, right? That's what we call them, the architecture review board. They will prioritize it, and the IT steering committee will now approve it. So that is how this initiative come about before we now start implementing the project, right? I will explain what the IT steering committee is. So the IT steering committee is like the overall board, right? They are the one that oversees anything that has to do with IT, right? So it consists of mostly the CEO, right, and some of the executive members of the board. So for example, if I want to talk about the IT steering committee for like a big bank, it will be like the CEO and maybe the managing director for commercial wealth management, for capital management, you know, for personal and commercial banking. They come together because they agree they are all going to be paying for those technologies that they are going to put in place. So they all agree together. So they now approve. What are they actually approving? They are approving that we need all these initiatives to be implemented, right? We need to actually implement all these initiatives. So they will approve it that you can start working on it. So the business analyst will now start gathering requirements, doing the cost benefit analysis, and putting all these things together. So that's what happens there, right? So this is what the process looks like in terms of when they've done the engagement, they will review the requirement, they will prioritize the requirement. When they prioritize it, the IT steering committee will approve it. When they approve it, then they will start working on the business case, doing the solution design, and looking at the economics. The economics is the cost benefits. We call it cost benefit analysis. What is the cost? I want to do Salesforce implementation. How much is it going to cost me? What are the license costs? What are all these details? You put all these details together. You now look at what are the benefits. If I implement this, what am I going to be saving? What is it going to be saving me? You can say it's going to be saving us time. It's going to be saving us this. You are now going to put them into a quantitative analysis. Then you now compare, and you're able to present to the organization that this is the savings you are going to be getting from it. And this is the responsibility of the business analyst to put in place, right? So after all that is done, then they approve that project. When they approve it, then you can now start implementing that project. Now, when we say implementing that project, you now decide, depending on what framework your organization is using. If they are using waterfall, then you go through the waterfall route. If they are using agile, then you go through the agile route, right? Some organization, they will use the tool. Then they will now tell you, if you're the project manager for that project, that, which one do you think is we need to use to implement this project? So you need to understand that project you're working on and say, okay, the agile methodology will be used to implement this project. So this is how they manage demand, right? You know, I said that other requirements will come up based on logic, maybe based on regulation, audits, and all that, even though the IT master plan is in place, but other stuff can come up. When those other stuff come up, it will go through this. The request will be approved. The ARB will review. Why is the ARB reviewing it? They are reviewing it because they need to prioritize. Because some projects will be a dependency. Let's say, for example, we want to implement Salesforce, but I already told you that we don't have anything in the cloud. Every of our infrastructure is on-premise. Can we implement Salesforce? No, there will be a dependency. And the dependency is that we first need to move from our infrastructure to the cloud, right? So that project needs to happen before we implement Salesforce. So that's what the function of the architecture review board, the function of the architect, to ensure that those things are prioritized. Which of the projects should come first, which of the projects is depending on the other one. So they will prioritize, then the IT management committee will approve. When they approve it, then it goes back, right, into the pool of projects that needs to be done. Then the business analyst will also do the business case. They will do the architecture design, they will do the cost benefit, they will agree, they will get it approved, then it will go for implementation. So that's why sometimes you see that when they employ someone, they will say, oh, we need somebody, we need a Scrum master, we need a project manager, something. They will employ you, then they will not tell you that, hold on. The project has not been approved, hold on, or the project has been reprioritized. This is what they are talking about. Sometimes they will employ you, will not even start until 3 weeks after, because they've not even gotten approval for the budget. You understand? So these are some of the things they have to do before they actually can start the project, right? So sometimes they want to quickly recruit the person so that the person is ready. While the project is approved, we can just start immediately. So these are some of the things that happens at the beginning before the project is actually implemented. And this is how this initiative happens. So when they get it, they go through this series again, they get it approved, then they start implementing the project. So this process, we actually call it the demand management. This is how we manage demand, right? So during this demand management, what happens? Requirements is documented, architecture work is done, right? Architecture for prioritization, right? We have the governance. What are the governors doing? They are approving. We have different kinds of governance. The IT steering committee. Most organizations call it IT steering committee, right? So they call it the technology steering committee, right? They also have the investment review board. Those are the people that look at the money. They agree on the money, right? So we also, the architecture, they have a board as well. They call them the architecture review board. Most organizations, that's what they call it, architecture review board. That's their role. Right? So when you hear that they're having an architecture review meeting, they are looking at the architecture of what you are trying to work on, the solution, like the architecture of the solution you are working on. So that's what they are looking at. So that's what happens when you are managing demand. So we talk about prioritization, right? We said that when the requirement is gathered, they need to prioritize, right? So that they can determine, do we need to do Salesforce now, or we need to do the cloud infrastructure project first and all that, right? So why do we do prioritization? We are doing prioritization so that we can determine, can help us align right, to the strategic objectives. So that's why we are doing prioritization, right? It's a tool. It can be any tool. I will show you an example of the prioritization shortly, right? It's just a prioritization that will determine that, okay, this is one to go for. This one has the dependency. We can't do this before this. That is what it just shows, right? So I think I have that open so I can show you what the what that looks like. And when they are doing prioritization, it's not done by one person. So no fear, is a teamwork, right? It's done by all the architect, right? And the business analyst might be involved as well, right? So what they are just doing is that this is an example, right? They will have all the initiative, right? These are all the initiative at the top. You can see the initiative at the top. So this initiative, they will now look at one of the, maybe they want to do, they will look at this initiative, they will now rate it, right? They will say maybe one is major impact upon the organization, requires some training and communication, minimal changes. Then they will do a weighting score, right? So based on that weighting score, they will now agree that this is going to be a 2. So it's not one person that is doing it. The team will come together and agree that for this project, it's going to be a 2, right? So when I say 2, some requirement known or project discovery needed, right? So they will weigh it, right? So when they finish weighing it, they will now have a score, right? So the score will now determine which of the project they want to do first. So you can see some that they have numbers, right? So this one that have numbers is just saying that they are dependencies, right? So you cannot do this project, this consolidation project, because it's dependent on A1, on A4, or something like that. Or no, these ones in blue have dependencies, right? So you cannot achieve them until all this one is achieved, right? So when they do that, when they've done this weighting score, they've agreed that this is the one that will come based on the subtotal. So they will base it on benefits, they'll base it on risk, and they'll base it on the cost. So you can see what the cost for each of the projects is. So they'll base it on that. So when they are done, they'll be able to agree on which project is more priority. They've prioritized the project. They'll now say, oh, this one has the high priority. For us to actually implement a lot of this project, we have to do the data center consolidation, right? Because it will give us more benefits and it will give us more, the risk to is, the lower the risk is better. So that means it has the higher risk and the benefit is high. So I want to quickly implement this so that I can eliminate the risk and I can get better benefit. So that will help them determine this, but they will prioritize it based on, they will have put some criteria in place that they will use to prioritize it, and the team will now agree on those prioritization. So that's how they go about prioritizing it. So now that is an Excel sheet. Some people use SAP. SAP also has a prioritization tool that they can use. So they use that as well. So I think we have some hands raised. So I will go with Baba.
Hey, Florence, how are you?
I am good.
Very well, thank you for the knowledge. I have my question has to do with maybe we're not there yet, but I just want to find out. Do we also have a lot of these initiatives also involve the finance department, and they're looking at the ROI and all of those type of things, right? Analysis. Do they come with in the decision-making process? Does it all come together? That's my assumption, right?
Yes. You can see here, if you look at, can you see this column 1, 2, 3, the third one? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see. Okay.
Okay, in the third one, we have the business case development. So we have business case development, we have solution architecture design. So when they look at the architecture, then we have the IT economics team review. This IT economics team review will have the business analysts, it will have the finance people, because they like to look at the return on investment, right? They will all look at it before it now goes for final approval for within the IT investment review board for them to approve. So what you are talking about is what happens there, this IT economics review. They look at the return on investment. They look at all those details, the MPV, to say, okay, this project is good enough. They question it. If they have any question, you go back and work on it as the business analyst to say this is not good enough until they all agree. Then they take it to the ITRB, then they approve.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, great. Sophie.
Hi, Florence. Yeah. So my question really is around the demand management and the prioritization work. I wanted to understand if the project manager or the Scrum Master has a role in that, or it's after all this is done that is transferred to them.
Okay, so for the Scrum Master, most time is after when this is done, because the Scrum Master will focus on implementation, right? But sometimes some organization, they involve the Scrum Master from the beginning. They already know who is going to manage it. So if you're a Scrum Master, you're also working as the project person that will manage the project in entirety, you will know about this. But if you're just going to focus on development, if you are in an organization where there's a difference between project manager and Scrum Master, you're focusing on development, you might not be involved in this. You might just be involved at the end when they've approved the project and they say start implementation. You just be involved there. But the project manager, you might be involved from the beginning if the organization runs as a project manager type of organization. But if you're just a Scrum Master and the organization separates Scrum Master and project manager, you will work just when the implementation starts. Some organizations don't do project manager, they do product management. So the person I was calling the business analyst doing all those details, you will be the one doing it as the product manager. That will be your role, doing all those things. So if your organization uses product management, that's what you will do. You'll be the one doing all this return on investment, meeting with the finance team and all that. Then when it's now time to implement, then they will now call the Scrum Master to manage the development team to get it done. Chioma.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Florence.
Hello, Chioma.
Okay, my question as well is on this demand management. I see there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I really don't have IT background, so I'm kind of lost. That's one. So
Okay.
I see there are a couple of abbreviations here. So for someone that doesn't have exactly that background, it's pretty easy to get like lost. I see ITMC, I see ITSC, I see ARB. So for me, there's just a lot of information here, and not to take you back, if you could just summarize it again somehow and just let me know what those abbreviations mean as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
You.
Yeah. Ken, Chioma, I will answer. Let me get Ken's question. Ken.
So my question is based on the vision and the demand management.
Okay.
So looking at the vision, is it strictly based on the stakeholders, or stakeholders, the BA, the project managers are going to be involved in the vision statement, in the vision for the year?
The vision, no, yeah. that is the top management. We don't even, most times the vision, nobody gets involved. It might be
just the stakeholders.
Yes, just the board, right? It's the where we start getting involved is the corporate. They will have even given us the corporate strategy. Where you start getting involved is the IT strategy.
So when it gets to the business unit goals and targets.
Exactly. And that is if you are within the strategy department, like a strategic business analyst. If you are within operations, you might not even get to know all this. All this will happen. You'll just be hearing that, okay, no, it's alignment with the strategy. Oh, yeah, that's what you just be hearing. You won't get involved in this. Okay?
So another thing I have, based on what you just answered, on the business unit goals and targets, so the stakeholders have given it. So the team that will be involved is the Scrum Master, the project manager, maybe the tech team.
Yes.
Are they all involved in the business unit goals, or is just those the PAs and they maybe because from the demand, just go to the page of your demand management. Because if you look at the swim lanes here, it's just mostly for the PAs. Where is the Scrum Master coming in here?
The Scrum Master, that's why I said, Sophie asked that question. The Scrum Master does not come in here, right? I'm just making sure you are aware of what has happened before you actually get the project. Because sometimes as the Scrum Master, they will tell you that go back and meet the architecture team. You'll now be wondering what they are saying, right? So the Scrum Master doesn't come in here. right? Most time
Okay.
is the project manager and the business analyst. And the project manager will come in here if they already know who the project manager is. If they don't know, it's only the business analyst and the tech team that will continue to get this done till they get the approval. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So to Chioma's question the other time. So she was talking about understanding some of these things, right? So, you know, we talk about the business engagement where the team will go get all this information from the business, right? They will review and confirm that business requirement. I'm in the first column now. They will review and confirm this business requirement. After that, they will now prioritize. I showed you that Excel for prioritization. That prioritization is mostly done by the ARB. What do I mean by ARB? ARB is the Architecture Review Board. You can write that down. The Architecture Review Board. So the Architecture Review Board is just a combination of different architects, like a technical architect, like a application architect, like a data architect, right? They will come together and look at it and say, oh, this one has to come before this one. No, this is a dependency. This is this, you know. They help to prioritize, you know, because there are some projects you can't just go and implement that project. It will now say, oh, we can't continue because we are supposed to have done this. So this is their role. They understand the architecture of the organization. They know where the organization, how everything connects together. So they will look at it and arrange it that this is how we will prioritize this project. So that they are called the Architecture Review Board. And as the Architecture Review Board are doing, they are not doing it alone. The strategic business analyst is there because it's the one that gathered this requirement from the business and understand it so that it can go back and tell them that this is when we will be able to do this your project. This is when we are going to implement this your project, right? Because this is a dependency for this project. Then it goes to ITMC. ITMC is just the management of IT, people that are leading the IT department, like the leader of application, the leader of infrastructure, the leader of strategy. So they will now just look at it and say they will agree and send it to IT steering committee. So this ITMC is just IT management. They will send it to IT steering committee. IT steering committee is the overall steering committee of IT, of technology, right? They will now accept it and say, okay, good. Can you go ahead and start developing the business case, right? They've approved for the business case to start. That is approval, the second column. When they start saying that, go develop the business case, the business analyst will start developing this business case. What do they mean by business case? You are putting the reason why you are doing the project, the risk of the project, the different options, right? The different options. We want to implement a marketing tool, for example. You put Salesforce, you put Zoho, you put this, you now compare the different options, solution option 1, solution option 2, solution option 3. You compare, you agree. When you've done all that, you now go to the architects, we call them solution architects, to look at it, is this okay? Are we good? They will agree. You've done the cost benefit analysis to say this is the cost, this is the benefit. You call on the IT economics review team. This IT economics review team, they are formation of people from finance, from maybe some leader of the area of the business you are doing the business case for. They will look at the ROI, they will look at the net present value, they will look at all this and approve it. Then when it's approved, the ITRB is just the IT investment the review board. They are saying that go ahead and spend the money. We have approved you to spend the money. It's just a board of people that have been given that power to approve money for organization to start spending, right? That's what it is. Okay, when they now say they've approved the budgets, then you can now start implementing that project because you have money. If you don't have money, you cannot start implementing a project. So they now start doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. It's just for you to have an understanding, right? If you're not going to be working in that space, you just need to know so that when you hear things like, oh, the project is still being prioritized, you understand what they are doing. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So we've talked about prioritization. Then we said this is what it will look like when it has been prioritized. So this will help them determine which one they are going to do first. Okay. So we have 2 more slides before we ask questions and we stop for today. So IT governance, right? We've been talking about this already, right? So I'll just, and let me just now give you explanation on them. But before we go, Jiron, do you have a question? Jiron, I can't hear you. Okay, I'll move on. IT governance. Okay, so based on the demand management, we've talked about the.
I'm so sorry for that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry for that delay. My quick question, right? And I'm not sure whether you've dealt with it. For someone like me, it's I'm probably interested in getting the certification for the Scrum Master, but I'm more of a Salesforce consultant. That's the part I'm going through. So I would like to get from you the specific job or requirement or specific job of a Scrum Master, and how that can be kind of combined with what a consultant. Okay, as a consultant, Salesforce consultant, how do you manage it? Let's say I go ahead and get this Scrum Master certification. How do you match those two to be more effective in as a consultant, a Salesforce consultant? Thank you.
Okay, I'll tell you that. Roland.
Hi, Florence, thanks. I do have, my question basically is around the slides that you've been presenting. Will that be shared with us? That's one. And like the template for the prioritization chart that you also shared, is that something we'll have access to?
For the slides, I'm not sharing the slide, but you have access to the videos. You have access to the videos. For the prioritization template, I can prepare one and share that, right? But the truth is that most organizations have their prioritization tool, right? But if you just want to have it, I can prepare one and share, right? But when you get to an organization, most of them will have their prioritization tool. Okay.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Jiron, give me 5 minutes to finish this slide, then I will answer your question. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, so IT governance. So we've talked about the different governance that we have, right? We have the Information Technology Steering Committee. So this is the highest body that governs anything that has to do with technology within the organization, right? So most time you need to go to them for approval. If you don't go to them, somebody has already gone to them on your behalf, right? The Investment Review Board, as Baba mentioned the other time, these are the finance people that will approve your money, that they say, go ahead and spend your money. I talk about the Architecture Review Board. The Architecture Review Board are the ones that look at the architecture of the solution that you're going to have. So if, for example, if you're a Salesforce application architect, you'll be part of this Architecture Review Board that will be making sure the architecture is good, right? The technology architect, the data architect, right? We have the Change and Technology Advisory Board. Who are the Change Advisory Board? If there's going to be any change, for example, we have Salesforce, or we want to change something. We want to link Salesforce to another application. That means there's going to be a change, right? We want to link Salesforce with ServiceNow. There's going to be a change, right? So the Change Advisory Board will look at it and approve it. So the Change Advisory Board are the one that will approve, but they have people that they call the Technology Advisory Board. The Technology Advisory Board are the one that will look at it, that is it possible for us to integrate this application? What are the issues that we can have? They will look at it technically. When they think that everything is fine, they will pass it to the Change Advisory Board to approve, right? So you'll be anything like CAB. No, we need to go through CAB. We need to go through CAB, right? So that's the Change Advisory Board, right? So Project Steering Committee. If you are working on a project, you have a Project Steering Committee, right? So the Project Steering Committee is when you are running a normal project, like the normal waterfall project, which I will explain as we go on, right? The normal waterfall project. If you are running Agile, most times it's always called sprint review. Everyone will be at the sprint review. All your stakeholders will be at the sprint review. I'm going to explain that as well, right? All your they'll be at the sprint review. But for every project you run, there's a Project Steering Committee. The Change Control Board. In Agile, you don't do Change Control Board. What you do is at the sprint review, everybody comes, they give their feedback, right? But if your organization follows waterfall or iterative method, they will have a change control board. For any changes you want to make on the project, they say, let's go to the change control board. So you'll be hearing things like that. Okay, so these are the other one on the right are just different framework that happens within that you are going to be using, right? Those framework are the things the organization will use. So most time when you get into an organization, you want to look at what are the framework they have. How do they actually operate? What are the things they do? So these are some of the frameworks you want to be familiar with. The enterprise architecture framework. The business alignment framework is for the business analyst. You want to understand it. The project management framework. How do they manage projects in this organization? If you are aware about how they manage it, it will be easier for you to operate within that system, right? The data and information management framework, the service management framework, the vendor management framework. Okay, so these are some of the things you will hear in terms of IT governance. These are what exists. Okay, and the last slide for today is where do you sit? But before we go there to this last slide, Baba, do you want to ask your question?
Hey, I'm sorry. I think my hand has been up all night long, so
okay.
apologies.
Okay, no problem.
I'll get it up down. Thank you.
Okay. So where do you sit, right? No, we've been talking about all these things since. So this is what the value chain of IT looks like. In technology, this is what the value chain of most organizations looks like, right? They have the governance. You know, all those things we talk, IT steering committee, architecture review board, all those things are governance. They govern, right? They are always there. They govern everyone. Now, you hear things like IT strategy, IT planning, enterprise architecture. You hear someone that I'm a senior manager, innovation and new business development. What are they doing? They're just the one that relate with the business. They're the one that partner with the business to get those initiatives. You hear someone, I'm a strategic business analyst. These are what they do. They gather all these initiatives, they put it together, they turn it into an IT master plan, right? Now, when they do all that, when all those things is approved, those things we call the demand management is approved, then it turns to project, technology project. This technology project can either be managed using waterfall or using agile methodology. So it's that agile methodology we want to focus on, not the waterfall aspect, right? But when you get organization, you see that some organization will use waterfall, some will use agile. But this is where all this initiative is coming from the IT strategy, planning, enterprise architecture. Then when it comes to project, that's where you see they recruit a lot of people, different people who want to implement a Salesforce project, want to implement a ServiceNow, want to do Workday, want to do this. This is where all the IT project comes in. When you now finish all this IT project, who is going to be supporting it? If it's an application support will support it. If you have something to do with information will support it, information management. If you have something to do with infrastructure, like the data center, the cloud, the infrastructure support will support it, right? Now, all these supports are there, but in the front end, is the service management. What are the service management? You know, people that call service desk, help desk, they are the one that pick your call. They resolve your issue. They can't resolve it. They pass it to the second level. The second level are this application support, information management support, infrastructure support. Now, we also have some business analysts that operate here in this application support. They will say, oh, there needs to be a change. The business analyst will now go and talk to the business and say, okay, what changes do you want? They will put the things together again, then they will go to projects and they will implement that project to come back to application support. So this is what the value chain looks like. So while they are doing all this, information security, control and risk, and making sure that everything is secure, everything we are doing is secure. We are building everything with security in concern. So as you are doing all these things, you'll be dealing with security people, you'll be dealing with control people. Sometimes auditors will come and check your work. Sometimes they'll say, go to information security and get approval. You'll be dealing with all these people. Governance, you are dealing with them in terms of getting approval to start your project, getting approval for money and all those things. Then people, resources, financial, sometimes you have to deal with vendor. Business analysts, go talk to this vendor, project manager, talk to this vendor, you know, depending on the different vendor you are working on, Microsoft, Amazon, and all those people, you have to discuss with them, right? So all these things is what makes up technology. And this is how you contribute to the business from technology perspective. Now that we've gone through how initiatives are done, this initiative they come about this initiative. Now we'll now go into project management. So when we talk about project management, then we'll now start talking about how you can use agile methodology to manage those projects. Then we'll now delve into Scrum. Okay, so this is just to give you an overview of how it starts. This is where it's actually coming from. Okay. Any question? Then okay, let me answer Diron's question. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop this night. Diron, your question was, you said you are a consultant, right? You are a Salesforce consultant, and you want to know how Scrum is going to help you here. So it depends on what organization you're going to be working in, right? So if you're going to work as a consultant, you even need to understand more, right? How the organization is structured. Because as a consultant, you're going to be meeting with different business areas. So I'm going to employ you now as a consultant that I want you to implement, oh, we have this issue. We are thinking of Salesforce, but we don't even know if Salesforce is going to work, but this is our problem. That means you're going to go around the organization to meet with those people that have these issues. For example, marketing department, you go to sales department, or you'll be going to finance department, for example, and you're going to be dealing with them in terms of doing discovery to understand what they need, right? You're going to gather all this information, put them together, provide a solution for them, right? To say, this is what we are going to use. You are also going to be discussing with technology to even see if the technology is available for them to actually implement the solution you are providing, right? You're going to be doing all this together, right? So you need to understand what each area of the business is doing, what technology has to offer, how they are operating, right? Now, when all this is done and you've gotten an approval, then they will start implementation, right? So implementation is now saying that, okay, let's start implementing. The Scrum Master is the one that will help manage that implementation from the development perspective, making sure that all those things you've put in place that they should do, the developers should do it. The Scrum Master will make sure that they are getting it done, right? Sometimes you might be the consultant on the project, working as the product owner to ensure that you are making sure that this is what you are telling the developer to build next. The Scrum Master is making sure that the work is being done by facilitating the ceremony, by making sure there is no impediment and all that. So that's how it all relates, right? So as the consultant, you are dealing more with the business, getting all this information. The Scrum team is just the people that will help you achieve those things that you've gathered from the business that you want them to do.
Okay. So I just want to try and kind of put some of this specialists together. So the BA gets the requirements from the customer or the stakeholder, and then the BA will the Salesforce consultant of the company's requirements. And then the Scrum Master is the one that put it all together and kind of monitor the project. Would that be an accurate outline of what you had explained or the way I understood it? Would that be accurate, or I'm off?
Some part is missing. The Scrum Master is not putting anything together. You, the consultant, are the one putting it together.
No. I said the Scrum Master is the one that kind of monitors the execution of
execution. Yes, is the master of the Scrum ceremony, is the master of Scrum, right? It makes sure that they are following that Scrum principles, those values, right, to ensure that they deliver what they intended to deliver, right? So that's the role of the Scrum Master. You are the consultant. Most of the time you are going to work as a product manager to ensure that all those things that they want to implement is happening. So you are the one discussing with the business to make sure that this is what is priority to them. This is what they need to be implemented, right? So depending on the position you are going to come in on the project. Sometimes they've done all the beginning work. They'll just tell you that this is where we are. What do you think we should do next? It might even be at that point, maybe it's implementation, right? You are just making sure that this thing is what they need to do and it's being done. But the Scrum Master will be managing the developers to make sure that the work is being done, like teaching them how to be more effective, how to work better, using those agile, using those Scrum framework.
Okay. And thank you for that explanation. So if I proceeded to get the Scrum Master certification, I just wanted to know let me put it this way, how to better sell myself as a consultant with a Scrum Master certification.
So as a consultant with the Scrum Master certification, what you'll be selling is that you understand the agile methodologies and you can work within an agile environment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. To be precise, very good. All right, appreciate it. I think you answered the question. Yeah, I think you had answered my question very well. Just to know what value I'll be getting in addition to being a consultant by getting the certification is what I wanted to make clear, at least to myself. Thank you.
No problem. Ken?
So my question is kind of what Diro just asked, but what's now the major difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager?
We'll get there. We'll get there. Because I don't want to. Because we have to finish at 9, right? We'll get there as we go along because I will explain the difference between the project manager and the Scrum Master. But in a nutshell, a project manager follows the project management framework, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing. Scrum Master follows the Scrum framework. So in that scenario, sometimes the initiation has been done. It's now time to execute. Then as a Scrum Master, manage the development team. Okay? The project manager has done the initiation, the cost benefit and all that. Scrum Master manage the execution, development team. Okay, in some organizations, they don't have project manager and Scrum Master. So it will be product manager and Scrum Master working together. So they will both be working from the initiation to executing. Okay, so there's a lot of overlap. Okay, so if you have in an organization, some organizations as a Scrum Master, you are doing the work of a project manager. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Hello. Okay. Hi. Florence again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things I just want to kind of chip in. I mean, you tell me if obviously it's not exactly correct. For Jerome's question and others, one of the misconceptions we all have is the fact that it's very possible for you to be a consultant and sit on top of the pile and not understand what Florence is literally talking about, which is every one of these things. You may just find yourself in a situation where you are dealing with all of these players, or you are even called upon because maybe the Scrum Master just resigned from the job with immediate effect, and you cannot say, you can't go back to the business and say the reason why we're not delivering is because our Scrum Master just resigned, right? So you might have to wear those hats sometimes. So as consultants in particular, just that title alone, you could be a consultant in an organization and be a BA inside. You could also be a project manager or a product owner inside as a consultant to other organizations. So I'm just clarifying that. I don't know if
thank you, Baba. You got it very right. The word consultant, the work you do, you will not expect what you. So, Baba, you put it in the right way. Moradeke.
Okay, thank you, Florence.
Yeah, thanks, Baba.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Florence. Yeah, I just need a bit of clarification between the role of a BA and a consultant or slash product owner, because it seems it's kind of blurry here. I understand you said earlier the BA collects the requirements, meets with the business to understand the requirement, what they need. Then the product owner, the consultant, in terms of that's where I'm a bit confused in that aspect.
Okay, I will explain that. So Vinita, you'll be the last person for today in terms of questions, so that we can stop 9 on the prompts and we can adhere to our norms. So Vinita, ask the question and I'll answer the 2 at the same time.
Right, thank you, Florence. So my question is, I'm a new Salesforce BA in my team, and they are implementing Salesforce in our team. So the question here is how this Scrum Master training is going to help me out as a Salesforce BA.
Okay, great. Vinita, I'll ask you a question. what framework are you using within your organization? Do you use the Agile or the Waterfall methodology?
Well, they are implementing Agile now. Initially, they were using Waterfall.
Okay, so they are implementing Agile now. So by the time you go to this Scrum framework, it will help you because that's what you're going to be using. You're going to be doing all this daily stand-up, you're going to be doing sprint planning, so you understand what is meant to be done. When they start using Jira, you understand what is meant to be done. So you don't know how the Scrum is going to help you now because you're not using it at the moment. So when you start using it, you'll see the benefits
of
having it. Yeah.
So they're not using Jira, they're going to use Asana.
Asana is, yeah, it's the same. They work in similar ways. Yeah, you know, when you know one tool, you know the other tools, so it works in similar ways. Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now I will answer the last question. Okay, so before I answer that question, okay, let me answer the question. You asked the question about business analyst, product owner, and consultant. So I'll give you in a nutshell. A business analyst is a consultant. A consultant is a higher grade of a business analyst. Do you understand that? Did you get that?
Yes, I did. But
a consultant is a higher grade of a business analyst. So a consultant is someone that is a business analyst, but with better experience. Do you get what I'm saying? So a consultant can wear multiple hats. A consultant can work as a business analyst, can work as a project manager. Do you get me? So that's why they call them consultants, because they feel that they have they have this experience. Before you call yourself a consultant, you have experience. You understand how to manage and gather requirements. You can also help with the delivery of a process. So they expect them to have multiple hats. So when you say you're a Salesforce consultant, that means you can help an organization to implement Salesforce end to end. You understand? A business analyst will just focus on gathering the requirements and putting the case together and ensuring that they can write the stories, user stories, document it in Jira and all that. A consultant is expected to be able to do that and also help with the delivery. So when you talk about product owner, product manager, it means that the difference between that one is that when the project has been done, is completed, as the product owner, you don't stop. Business analyst can say, okay, I'm done, I'm moving to another project. Consultant can say, I'm done, I'm moving to another project. A product manager continues to manage that product till the product is no more useful for the organization. So when it's in operation, you are still managing the product. You are managing the product to the end of its life. Okay, does that give you a nutshell?
That's more than I need. Very clear. Thank you.
Good. So that's the difference between all of them. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. I don't want us to stay more than what we agreed. One thing I'm going to do, because I have a large class here, I know people will have questions. I will try and open the class at 6:30 for questioning, but we are not going to start class until 7. Only for questioning, between 6:30 and 7 for questioning, but classes start at 7. Okay, and we'll end at 9. Okay. Please, are we going to learn Jira here? So I will show you how to use Jira when we are doing this simulation. Okay. Are we good?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So tomorrow we'll meet again and we continue with project management. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening and we'll meet tomorrow.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.